Alrighty, let's see if this works. I'm not really prepared for this one. I'm trying something new, and we're gonna see how it goes. All right, Ruy Lopez is on the board. We've got a couple options. We can go Berlin. We can knight. We can go knight to f6, or we can go pawn to a6. I've played these enough to know the exchange variation. I'm gonna stick with it. It's what I know. So he can now either take or retreat. Those are his two main options here. This leads us to either the exchange variation or one of what's possibly called the open variation. So we're going to go that route. So I'm going to go with this move now. I am not going to continue the attack, what's known as the Morphy attack. I'm not going to continue with that just yet. I am going to go ahead and make some standard developing moves. This comes with check, but most likely my bishop's going to go here. I am not going to weave my bishop around. I'm probably going to drop it right back here. But this just gives my opponent an opportunity to make a subpar move. So I'm putting a little extra pressure on my opponent right at the start of the game just to see what they do. They've got several options for defending this. Yeah, this is a great move. It's pretty standard, but again, the only reason I did that was to try to encourage this pawn move. We both castle, so we are now developed. Well, I'm not yet. I've still got some work to do here. Now might be a good opportunity for me to pursue this attack, which allows me to get my bishop up. Now my opponent has plenty of squares to move, so this is not really that threatening yet. I'm not threatening to trap in any way, shape, or form. I do have to watch out for this kind of game. My opponent's bishop is now eyeing up that f7 square, and we've said in the past that f7 square can become a weakness. So I'm going to go ahead with my preemptive h6 move. That just stops my opponent from considering this knight to g5. So let's see, what are they doing? So they're going rook all the way out, possibly looking for something like the pawn move here. Where would I go? So if he pushes pawn down, let's think about this. If he pushes pawn down, I cannot take because I would be losing. I'd be trading away one of my pieces to get that pawn, and that is not going to work. Most likely, the bishop will probably come to the e file or the d file. Right? Or why wouldn't it drop it all the way back? You know what? I'm not certain. Why can't I drop it all the way back? What would be wrong with that? What would be wrong with dropping my bishop all the way back to a7? So a7 or e7. Those are our two candidate options for our bishop. All right, so my opponent did continue on with their pawn push. I have to make a decision here, and I really don't know what to do. Notice, let's see here, the next move is probably going to be this pawn, this continuation of this pawn push, which is going to put pressure on the knight. So let's take a long think. If I run the bishop, what if I stop the bishop? Is there anything wrong with stopping the bishop there to give my knight an extra square to run away? Where could my knight, here, let's do this. Where could my knight run away to? Right? Can't do both the dots and the circles, Joe. So where can my knight run away to? It could run away to that particular square, and that's not a bad square considering bringing it all the way over to the g6 square. So I think this bishop belongs on a7. I'm not in love with that idea, but it does give me this really strong diagonals for my two bishops. So my bishop pair is sitting way back, tucked way in, and they are not 100% defended. Notice this guy is technically undefended. My light square bishop is technically undefended. All right, so let's figure out here. My opponent could push their pawn down, which is going to drive my knight, which we said the knight's already coming to e7. So we're good with that. Oh, That is something I didn't think about. All right, so back here, I should have taken once. My opponent can come back and then make this move, because now I've given him access to this square. Ooh, do-do-do-do-do-do. D-d-d-d-d. Okay, so I'm not in love with this. Notice he can take here. I can take here. All right, so his knight, he's going to exchange this. He's going to take my knight, and he's going to go up material. Then the question I have is, what do I take back with? I'm pretty sure I'm taking with my bishop, so that this knight on f3 or f6, excuse me, can still stay guarding. Yeah, that was a good move on his part. It attacks and defends at the same time. I can put, no, I can't put my I'm going to have to retreat this particular bishop somewhere, somehow. Let's see, if I put a rook here, this is the Ruy Lopez we're talking about, and the rook to e1 is a standard move in the Ruy Lopez. Let's see, if I put rook here now, he can take my bishop, I take back, he can take with the queen, and I don't have time to take up. So, let's see, do we push a pawn and threaten? Because he takes, I take, he takes, I take. Oof, things are getting a little hairy in that regard. So let's just retreat. I do have an in-between. No, I don't, because he's got it covered. I was thinking I do have this in-between move where if I have to, I've got some. I can throw a random check on him, sacrifice a bishop to get a random check. This rook is coming to e1. We're gonna spy right down onto his queen, put some pressure on that queen. Yeah, he did the right thing by doubling up. So we're also gonna do the right thing by. Oh, we can't. That's not enough. Well, he's not gonna take it, and he's just defending. So he's got it defended, so I can't capture, which is fine. I'm not really looking to capture right now. Most likely I was just trying to pin it so it can't go anywhere so that I could have this by... Okay, so now he's threatening checkmate, right? So we have to do something about... Oh, actually, he's not really threatening checkmate, because if he puts queen there, I take, and then this... So I mean, he's not really threatening anything right now, so I'm okay. Oh my gosh, and I was looking completely wrong. He doesn't have that protected. All right, let me just think this through real quick, because if he goes to the h7 square, make sure I'm looking at this correctly. h7. I can't take with my queen, but I can take with the knight, so I'm safe. For some reason, when I looked up, I thought that bishop was spying that square. It's not. So I do still have two strong bishops that I'm really happy with right now. They're a little undefended, and I'd like to do something about that. That is okay, my friend. You can do that. You can totally, because this guy's coming right back home. Right back home. Actually, I should have made this trade, to be honest with you. So here's this again. We've seen this before. We know it's okay to take. We know that this is not that much of a concern because we've still got it covered. So we've seen that before. So this is something I have actively learned. All right. Now, what is he trying to do? I could put my rook here. It is blockaded. So he's trying to get his... He's trying to maneuver this knight around in order to dislodge my knight, because right now my knight is doing a really good job of saving me from checkmate. Actually, I could do... So if I go bishop up here to e4, he can't take because I can take back. Yeah, I'm real happy with that. If he has to move the queen, but we're trading light square bishops. Am I in love with trading light square bishops? Not really, but... And that's only if he uses the queen to defend. Ooh. All right. All right, all right, all right. What you doing here, fella? What you doing here, fella? Make sure I'm not missing anything here. Make sure I'm not missing anything here. I probably am missing. He's got a check here, but I can block at least. Or I could, yeah. Actually, if he checks here, I'll probably... yeah. Let's see. That allows him still to take here. I can take back with my rook. If he takes this queen, he's dropping a whole piece again. So he has a very strong attack happening. Actually, at this point, is it better to take with my knight? If I take with knight, what am I losing here, guys? What am I losing? Someone tell me what I'm losing here. I'm losing that pawn. We do have pressure on his queen, so he has to move his queen. He has a pawn that he can take. Now the question is, do I throw this check in? Does this check give me anything? This might give me a rook. Notice this is covered. This is protected. So I'm trying to put some pressure here. Ah, interesting. Okay. Okay, that was a good move. I didn't see that coming. Dadgum, I didn't see that coming. I didn't see that at all. I should have gone with the one for check. Yep, I am going to... Actually, let's see. What do we have here? Can we block that at all? No, we can't. Alrighty, it's time for the king walk. And I'm probably going to lose this game now. This is why being up in material doesn't help you unless you can do something about it. My king is coming all the way around. If he drops a check here, I can block. Actually, if he drops a check here, if his queen comes down to f6, I've got queen takes. Still okay. Oh, you clever bitch. You clever bitch. I screwed that one, didn't I? Didn't I? That was smart. Man, that was really smart on his part. Wow, that was good. That was really good. All right, so I am going to make this exchange. Notice we've still got this. That queen is pinned, so he's losing a queen either way. In fact, we can pre-move that because we know that's the only thing he can do. He can't move that queen. So, all right, we're back in the game. And he resigned. Wow. Okay, so that was a wild one. There is opportunities for... whoops, I don't know what just happened to the game board there, guys. Let's see if I can fix this. This is... Ooh. Ooh. All right, I don't know why the game just got chopped off there. Let's see if I can fix that somehow. Woo! Something like that, maybe? And this thing, I don't know. I was trying something. Doesn't look like it's going to work out really well for the way I record these. So we'll probably not do this again. We'll probably do it a little different. That's all right. Okay, so let's take a quick scroll through what we saw in this particular game. Let's see. Yeah, this way you guys can see the letters on the board too. Yeah, so in this particular instance, one last take a look at this game. This particular opponent had me pretty significantly in time trouble. Now, granted, I'm way up in material, but I am way down in time. So my opponent here could have tried to stay in this and just, as the expression goes, flag me. In the old time, like the flag standing up. If the flag falls, the game's over. So my opponent could have stayed with this. This was an interesting game. So Roy Lopez, we decided to go with the to force. Oops, let me get the analysis back up. Is this going to work with the analysis? Oh man, yeah, this is not as convenient as I was hoping it'd be, guys. Boy, I am just all over the place, aren't I? Okay, so I'm not going to do this again. So this game here, let's take a look. Roy Lopez on the board. I went for to either force an exchange or force a retreat. He went for the retreat. I chose not to follow up with the Morphe attack, the Morphe defense. Not yet, anyway. I wanted to continue with this kind of semi-Berlin, I don't know what you call it, Columbus variation, I guess. It gives us that Berlin structure, but it also gets that bishop out of the way. Now, at some point in time, he still could recapture. Solid setup. This was probably not the best move in the world. Like I said, I was just trying to induce my opponent to weaken their structure. Let's see. The moves in the database say b5 or d6. Let's see, b5, yeah, b5, d6, bishop c5. So yeah, so this Italian game structure, and that's not the word for it, guys. I call it the Italian game structure because when I was learning the game of chess the first time, this is where your bishop ends up going when you're playing against the Italian game. All right, so yeah, I know that my bishop's going to end up here on c5. So throwing it up here to b4 is just trying to encourage my opponent to make a mistake. They did not make a mistake, so we just retreat our bishop. I'm happy, and my opponent has made an extra pawn move. I don't know if that's worth it or not, but that was what was in my head. We're still in the database, so castles, a nice developing move. Yeah, this was where the engine says that was a decent move. We're basically dead even at this point, so developing move. I probably should have gotten this rook e1 sooner. Honestly, actually, if I'm being honest with myself, realistically, as soon as he moved his queen here, that's something I can learn. As soon as he moved his queen, I could move my rook under, right? If we go back to chess is a game of balance, he's imbalancing the board by moving his queen, so I can balance it back by putting my rook right underneath it. And in that case, the board is weighted a little bit towards me because it's a lesser piece doing work against a greater piece. So that's something that I should have considered. As soon as he moved his queen, I'm putting that one in the memory banks to see if I can remember it. All right. Preventative move. Yeah, the engine doesn't like that. Probably unnecessary. I was going for this fianchetto structure. Again, probably unnecessary. Yeah. And then here's where I was really wishing I had this this rook sitting here that I didn't. So yeah, okay. So the engine does say either bishop move is okay, but yeah, okay. Well, it keeps finding new lines. So yeah, they're about the same. All right. So I struggled over that, but I guess I didn't need to. Yeah, that's a strong move, but I was worried about it. I went for the sacrifice. So this is a bit of a sacrifice. Notice I have given away a knight to get a pawn, and I'm hoping to get 2 pawns. So I got 2 pawns out of the deal for a knight. That's not really a good trade. I'm down on material, but my goal was to maintain this structure over here. So I feel like it's about even, but it's still not even. I know that I am losing, or on the losing end of that exchange, but I'm doing it with purpose. My opponent continues to develop. That's an interesting move. I didn't really consider that too much. Yeah, just move it right back home. Okay, so good. I feel good about that. Yeah, I'm really wishing I had that there a lot earlier. And yes, the engine agrees with me that I have this covered. So my knight is on F3 or F6 is doing a good job of keeping an eye on that H7 square, and so I don't really have to be too concerned about it. So yeah, go ahead and pick up my piece. So now I'm up a whole piece at this point in time. I should have made this exchange. I'm mad at myself for not making this straight up exchange. Oh, this is interesting. That's interesting because now the queen has to move because you can't drop a queen. And especially if that rook's coming back here. I mean, I ended up putting that bishop there anyway. That's interesting. I did not see that. That's fine. That's in one of these engine moves that, who would have guessed. So I went ahead and brought it all the way back home. Probably not the world's greatest move, but to me it felt safe, felt strong. This was another sacrifice on my opponent's point. Notice they are taking a pawn for a piece, which is what I did earlier, to hopefully gain some momentum, some activity. They have this really strong battery here that is absolutely terrifying me right now. This knight is my all-star, keeping an eye on that. Granted, it's still not game over, because I can get here. My king can hide under the F square, and then if the queen drops down, I can run away. This rook, now if this rook were sitting here, yeah, if this rook were on the E file, that'd be a whole different story. I would be in checkmate because that square. So this knight and this E7 square are my only real hopes of surviving checkmate if my opponent starts throwing pieces down the board. And if he puts his rook on the E1 square, I am dead to rights. He doesn't. So he is... Oh, wait, I bet he's looking for this now that I look at it. Yeah. So he's probably looking for knight to F5 so that it can control that square. If I give my opponent knight to F5, I am in big doo-doo. But luckily I found this this bishop move. Oh, and it says that it's not a really good move at all. It says I had a much bigger advantage by going a different route. Just throwing the knight up there already. Yeah, so it did say I lost a little bit of advantage, letting him get these checks in. Let's see, what does the engine say? Engine says, take back either way. Yeah, so I felt good about that. Pawn is good. So he gets a piece back. We make a trade. Oh, now how does it want me to trade? Yeah, trade with the knight. And then, yep, right here. So I gave my opponent tempo. So I got too smart for my britches, thinking that, if I take with my bishop, so if I take this pawn on F2, which is a danger zone pawn for my opponent, if I take the F2 pawn with my bishop, that puts my opponent in check, and he has to respond to it. By taking it with my knight, I'm giving my opponent time to start making moves. And that tempo was what almost screwed me pretty royally. And we'll watch the engine here. The engine is saying I currently have an 11-point advantage. Not quite as bad. Okay, not quite as bad as I thought. I expected it to drop down to like 0 or reverse. Yeah, my opponent easily could have taken this pawn with tempo, but it looks like they didn't, thank goodness. But yeah, so this allows my opponent to have a move, and sometimes one move is all it takes to change the game. So runaway king, runaway. The march of the king is on. So here's something that you want to look at. Notice this rook is cutting off my king. My king cannot go anywhere this way. Once you move that rook, you move the whole wall. So this rook moves over, and now the wall moves over here, and I can get on the other side of that wall. So I think a better move, yeah, the engine says it as well. The better move is to leave the rook on here and continue to just cut off the black king. So yeah, right. Now you could put me in check this way. And notice now my king can only go in one direction. The unfortunate side is you have allowed yourself to put right back in jeopardy. You could kind of force a perpetual here, but maybe force a queen trade. I don't know. So there are some lines there that I don't want to try to explore. But anyway, so by my opponent moving this rook, they move the wall and let me escape to the other side of the wall. So keep that in mind in your games. When you're playing, if you've got a rook, you don't have to put the king in check with it. You want that to create a wall to cut the king off. So notice my king can only live in this world on the board because of this queen and this rook have got me trapped in. And you can then create a mating pattern. But trying to move this rook and then trying to move this rook over just allows me to squeeze away with my king. And same thing. So now the fence is on top of me, but I can get on the other side of the fence. So in this case, he probably would have been a lot happier doing something like just doubling up. Right, double up rooks. Oh, yeah, it comes with check. Okay. Well, I guess I can see the point. Let's see, let's look at the material on the board. 2 rooks, and you're down a whole rook in that exchange. Wow, okay. All right, well, that's interesting. Anyway, my thought process was get the rook out to allow the other rook to come up double up or come all the way over. Notice this wall, you get a rook here, and you can keep the king in check, and he's in trouble. So that was kind of my thought process, but looks like this knight is doing a lot of work of causing troubles with this long-range bishop. Okay, so anyway, my opponent made his rook move. I jumped over, another rook move. My king marched over. Yeah, the engine says black still has an astonishing lead. White is unable to convert this. I mean, technically I am up 2 pieces, but... Yeah, so I was looking at blocking with the pawn. My only concern about blocking with the... because it immediately puts them in check. That's interesting. By moving another piece here, we block check and we put you in check. Now you have to respond, which allows me to continue to equalize. No. With check. Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. Okay, but that's interesting. I forgot about my own long-range bishop. Okay, so yeah, I was seriously debating this pawn move up. That was what I was considering. Notice that you can't get through it. You have to stop here, and stopping here means doesn't really mean anything, right? So you can just take right, because my queen is in the way. Yeah, so we are trading pieces there. And you white being behind them on material does not want to trade off pieces if they can't help it. So yeah, that was a mistake on my part. Yeah, look at this. Woof. Woof, woof, woof. Went from a 17 advantage to a 6 advantage because I cut off the defense of that. Gave him free material. And then he allowed this, which was a mistake. This is the alignment he's got to worry about. Notice we've got 2 attackers on that square. He's only got 1 defender, and his queen is now in line. So there's nothing he can do. He absolutely has to lose the queen. And then from here on out, it becomes... so it became a time scramble for me. So I was going to probably... At my rating level, I am probably going to make mistakes in a time scramble. I am not good enough to play that kind of fast chess. I would probably start, get my queen out, get my rook out. Notice this rook is probably going to stay here to cut the king off so the king can't go anywhere. I am not going to try to, well, I guess I could drive it here, but either way, no, well, not there, obviously, because of that. But this rook is going to do a good job of cutting the king off. I'm not going to allow the king to come this way, so I'm probably going to move this queen here. So I'm going to turn the engine off. I wish there was a way I could see the engine just for the white pieces. So I'd like to continue to cut that guy off, but what if we just do this? Now this becomes a major threat. Turn the engine on. Let's see what my opponent's most likely move is a pawn move. And then probably here. Because if you're going to trade, then I mean, you really don't want to trade. Now what does white do? I go with, oh, so now he's created an escape square. I see. Interesting. Okay. So that is something we need to look at. How do we prevent that? We prevent it by bringing our queen all the way up so that if he does try to create an escape square, he can't get behind it. So now there is no escape square for him. Interesting. Oof. Okay. This is something also. These mating patterns. We need to study mating patterns one day. We need to really study this. Yeah, and so the best move he can make is to get out. Well, I'm just going to double up. So now what are you going to do? Hide again. Take. Is that checkmate? Yeah, that's checkmate. Yeah. Oh well, that was a fun game. If you are ever playing a game, play it out. Don't stop. Let's see, where did we end up? Right. Yeah, right here. Play it out. So I only have a minute left. I'm going to make mistakes as the time starts clicking away. Play it out to the finish. Don't just sit there and do nothing and let the clock run out. Like, play it out. Make smart moves. Make your opponent do work. You know that as white, you know that you've lost this game. This game is about as over as it can be. So just waste your opponent's time. Don't try to trade off pieces, but start, making a little fortress. Hide your little king away. Make back and forth moves. Force your opponent to play the rest of the game. I'm not saying you're going to get lucky and you might steal one, but you might get lucky and steal one. And yes, okay, for the purpose of learning chess, is that really what we want to do? We want to steal games? We want to swindle them? I don't know. But, sometimes it just gives you that little feeling of satisfaction that, you know what? Time is a weapon. Time is a valuable asset. And if my opponent has played a game so much that they're still in it with 5 minutes to go, and I'm still in it with only seconds to go, well, that's my fault. I've played poorly, and I have allowed my resource of time to dwindle away. I have misused that resource. So if you are playing timed games, especially like this where games have no increment, which means I've got no chance to help my clock and bring my clock back up, play it out. Take the swindle when you can get it, because I guarantee you're going to drop games that you shouldn't. Just like this, I could have lost this game very easily when I was in a very advantageous position. So I'm up. Serious material. I'm way up, and I could have lost this game. And I have many times in the past dropped games that I should have won. So don't be afraid to use your clock as a weapon. It is a tool in your toolbox. Toolbook? It is a tool in your toolbox. Use it. And go out and have fun games. Make good games. All right, guys. Talk to you later. Bye.